Hi, Dr. Johnson. Okay, so as you know, I'm having some serious technical difficulties, but for my audio, I made a decision to do this live read, or what will be a pre-recorded read, and hopefully that will suffice for the audio part because I literally don't have a button to do the voiceover audio on my PowerPoint. And as far as the animation, it's there, but all of the buttons are like blanked out where you can't choose anything. So Canvas said that this will be an issue for Fayetteville State IT. So I'm going to narrate my story and hopefully that's okay. Okay. My story is called Afani's Journey. Here goes. There once was a high priestess who lived amongst the clouds high up in the Himalayan mountains. She lived in solitude, with only her guards and servants to keep her company. She spent her days making medicines from herbs, tending to her gardens, and seeking divine guidance. People would travel from near and far to seek her magic and wisdom. She was a healer and a servant to God. It gave her much joy to help others, but she could often feel something in her calling out to another. The priestess's name was Afani, meaning the one who lights the way. She was brilliant, beautiful, and highly intuitive, chosen by God, God's self, to help heal the people of the land, mentally, spiritually, physically, and emotionally. Her hair flowed down her back, sweeping the ground like rivers of black amber and honey. Her eyes slanted, warm and inviting. She adorned herself with crystals, gold, and gems, dressed in the finest robes made of silk and cottons, each piece crafted by her very hands. The rare few who laid eyes on her were stunned by her beauty. She was everything you're imagining her to be, but more. Though Afani loved being God's servant on the earth plane, she would often tell God she desired more, a companion, one who she could build and create a life with. But she knew the life of a high priestess was one of purity, and no such thing would be granted to her. Thoughts of this saddened Afani, so she kept her peace by helping others find theirs. When Afani was 130 years old, before she took her last breath, God whispered a gift into her spirit. God said she would return to earth 3,000 years later, and the desires of her heart would be granted. On December 21st, 1989, exactly 3,000 years later, down to the very second that Afani exhaled for the last time, Kenya inhaled for her very first. Kenya grew just like any other child, like a dangly weed in the wind, flimsy and unknowing. Her parents were kind people, but were at times wobbly themselves, and served as her very first catalyst on her journey to remembering who she was. This pushed Kenya to find deeper truths within herself. Every time she experienced an upset, it caused a cosmic shift within her own internal universe. She ventured deeper into the shadows of mystery, seeking herself, wondering exactly what she would find when she got there. Now, like many her age, Kenya struggled to adjust to young adulthood. She went off to college with no idea what was awaiting her. Up until this point, she had no clue who she was or where she came from. But there was one thing that she could still feel even 3,000 years later. Him. Him who was her divine love, the one who her soul pondered to know and understand. She searched for him with many failed attempts. Many. There was one suitor that Kenya believed to be the one, but he turned out to be the worst of them all. It took her many years to heal from that experience, pushing her further into herself, deeper into her own oneness. She released him and consciously began the journey to know who she truly was. She sought out wise women, healers, physically, spiritually, to help her heal every aspect of herself. At this point, she was far from her original self, so reliant on others to help her heal where she once could do with a single thought in her mind. But the magic was still there. She just had to discover it for herself once more. As Kenya learned how to heal herself, more and more people started to show up in her space, seeking guidance and healing themselves. She tried to turn them away, but more would just come in their place. Frustrated at what she felt was bombardment, she began to deny those in need. But what she didn't know and understand and realize was to deny them meant to deny her truth. And to deny her truth meant to deny her true happiness. Kenya got to the point where she yielded unto God once more and asked for the great crown of wisdom that she wore countless centuries ago. God granted her wish and showed her the space within herself where she had hidden 7 gifts: wisdom, love, faith, strength, healing, vision, and service. Kenya knew what to do. She began healing more deeply and helping others do the same. The journey became less about who she was becoming and more about remembering who she already was. That's important. One day, she went to an oracle. The oracle told her to be still. She was finally prepared to meet her divine love. By this time, Kenya was sure that he was here because she was here. The oracle told her to go to a place that she wouldn't normally go, and he would be there. She knew immediately where she had been guided to seek, so she went. She saw many faces, different in size, shape, and structure, but she was more so looking with her heart for her divine love. One day she met a man named Ka. He was immediately drawn to her, but she was very hesitant as she remembered the many moments of a broken heart from her past. But as soon as he spoke, she knew. She didn't tell him, of course, but she knew. After days of meeting her and getting to know her, Ka professed his love to Kenya, but Kenya was not so accepting. Even with what she knew in her spirit, it was him. Fear crept up into her mind. She didn't want to be rejected anymore, so she rejected him. But the man also knew who she was, and he was patient, kind, and loving. He told Kenya, "No matter how long you take, I am here, and I love you." This is a true story. Kenya knew she was in the presence of her king, but even then, She found it hard to trust herself, to allow the goodness into her experience. Carl was consistent and gentle with the priestess, taking his time to show her she could trust him. He wrote her love letters, spent time getting to know her quirky ways. Then, one day, and what seemed like suddenly, she allowed. It was not easy for her, but she did it. And she and her king did exactly what God promised. They loved each other infinitely, built an amazing life together, and lived happily ever after. And that's my story. I hope it was entertaining, and thank you.